This week in Destiny 2 has already been a somewhat busy one. Of course, we had the final step in the Lost Cryptarch quest, and we now have access to the Thunderlord, finally. That thing is pretty beastly. We'll talk about some stuff to do with this week's reset, but in this video, we're going to break down some pretty awesome information about Season 5 starting in just a few weeks' time. So there will be a brand new Pinnacle weapon for Gambit inside of Season of the Forge. We'll break down what Bungie have said about that and everything we know. We're also going to round up a bunch of information regarding changes in Season 5, updates to subclasses, and a bunch of other stuff there. We're going to speak about new challenges in the game, some content that's up this week, and we'll also break down a bunch of comments about Gambit that come from Bungie, changes that they're working on for Season of the Drifter, which of course we're going to get in a couple of months' time. Looks like there's a lot of exciting content to look forward to over the coming months, guys. So we'll break it all down in this video. If you do enjoy it, a rating is super appreciated down below. If you're new to the channel and you want to see a lot of Destiny content right here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But for now, let's jump into it. So before we talk about Season 5 content, changes, and all that good stuff, of course this week we finally got access to the Thunderlord. Really cool nostalgic mission taking place in the Plaguelands version of the Cosmodrome. Definitely worth jumping in and grabbing this weapon if you can. Bungie did, however, confirm, though, that the quest for this will actually go away on the 27th of November. So if you want to complete this mission, complete any of the steps and acquire Thunderlord, you'll have to do it within the next couple of weeks. However, the Thunderlord itself will actually be added to the general exotic loot pool after the 27th. So if you don't do this quest, it will still be possible to get the Thunderlord, and this will be as a random exotic drop, and presumably Bungie will put duplicate protection on this as well. So that's pretty interesting stuff. Thunderlord is definitely an absolute beast. Also this week in game though, of course we have the final Iron Banner of Season 4. There is actually double Valor inside of this Iron Banner, so if you're trying to rank up anything like that, it's certainly going to be pretty useful. Plenty of content to wrap up in the game over the next couple of weeks, but now let's speak about some stuff to do with Season 5, new Pinnacle weapons, changes, and content. So Bungie did the Bungie Bounty livestream just a few days ago, and they gave some insights about Gambit, as well as a little bit of new information regarding some future content. So as you can see right here, Cosmo tweeted, Pinnacle weapon for Gambit in Season of the Forge, confirmed by Greg Peng. That's right, Gambit will have its own Pinnacle weapon, similar to Luna's Howl or Redrix's Claymore. And Greg Peng said, Season of the Forge will have a Gambit Pinnacle weapon on the same level as Broadsword. It will be the best weapon in Gambit. Deej said, will there be a Pinnacle Chase weapon on the same level as what you earn in the Crucible? And Greg Peng said, maybe even further. Obviously we tune every Pinnacle weapon for that activity, so that it basically is the best in that activity. And Robbie Stevens went on to say, Malfeasance is an invader-focused Gambit weapon, and there's a whole other side to Gambit, so you fill in the blanks. So that's pretty cool stuff. We are absolutely getting a Pinnacle weapon inside of Gambit in Season 5. And if this works anything like Luna's Howl or the Broadsword, presumably it will be based on your wins inside of that playlist. So Gambit's definitely going to get sweaty in Season 5. But what could this weapon possibly be? Well, we actually saw a weapon that has a relatively good chance of being the Gambit Pinnacle weapon. So originally, there was a duplicate version of the Hazard of the Cast, which is the auto rifle from Gambit. This was in the week before Forsaken launched, and it's called Hardline. You can see that it does look like Hazard of the Cast, but it has its own flavor text as well as lore. But the perk set that was actually featured on Hardline when it was visible in the database was Rampage as well as Onslaught. Now, Onslaught is a new bonus. This weapon's rate of fire increases as you stack Rampage, and of course Rampage stacks up to 3 times, increasing damage as it stacks. So every time you get an increase in damage, you'll also see an increase in rate of fire according to that perk combination. So it does look like there is a significant chance that the Rampage Onslaught combination is what we'll actually see on the Pinnacle weapon. And of course we can expect that the Hardline, if that indeed is the weapon that we'll get, will have been reworked and probably have different visuals to what it had when it previously showed up. But there even seems to be a little bit of a tease towards this right here. So T-Rex actually went over to Bungie to sample some upcoming content for Season 5. And on the subject of the Pinnacle weapon, he said, prepare the Gambit Onslaught. DMG actually replied and said redacted, so honestly I think that's a tease to that Onslaught bonus and the fact that it will feature on that Pinnacle weapon. But let me know your thoughts about that down below. What do you think of having a Luna's Howl equivalent inside of the Gambit mode? It'll be interesting to see how Bungie handle the progression for that, but one thing's for certain, Gambit is about to get more competitive. Let me know your thoughts below. But now, let's talk a little bit more about Season 5 changes and things that Bungie have been saying. So on the subject of Season 5, Deej did actually say on the live stream to expect patch notes on November 27th. So we now have confirmation that the next update will indeed drop drop on the day that Season 4 ends. We don't know the start date for Season 5. It could indeed be the 27th. Equally, it could be the following week, and that would be the 4th of December. But we will have a big patch on the 27th, according to what Deech said. On the subject of old subclasses, somebody said, I hope we see buffs to some of the old subclass trees in Season 5's update. DMG said, setting expectations, this won't be in the Season 5 update. While there will be tuning for Chaos Reach and Spectral Blades, there won't be any major changes to other subclasses. So do just bear that in mind. We have a couple of changes confirmed, Chaos Reach and the Spectral Blades, but other subclasses won't be seeing any significant changes for now. There are going to be a bunch of other changes to Gambit though, going into next season. This would include catch-up mechanics, bounties, and general rewards. So on the stream, Bungie said, lots of people ask this one, I want Drifter's backstory, what is a rogue lightbearer, and was he a former Guardian? And Fritzy from Bungie said he's rogue, but he's like real old, from a time before the Vanguard and the City. He's not really a Guardian in the term where Zavala would be like, he's not a Guardian. Robbie Stevens, though, does say that in Season of the Drifter, you're going to see Gambit evolve, the Drifter's backstory evolves, so that's something we're working on right now, and we're having a lot of fun building. Somebody asked, can we please have weapons and armor that have Gambit-specific perks? And Greg Peng said, we're definitely looking into such things. It's something that will be ongoing. It's a great idea. And of course, in Season of the Drifter, we are going to see the Gambit game mode evolve, so we could definitely see things like armor sets, set bonuses for Gambit, and it sounds like Bungie are actually working on that kind of stuff. Next though, Bungie talk about catch-up mechanics and more changes that they're working on for the future update. So Robbie Stevens said, I know there's been a lot of discussion around this. Our intention from a design perspective is that summoning first is the right choice. It's something that you always want to do and should be a goal during the moats phases to get the primeval out as fast as possible. There are no specific catch-up mechanics for a team that is behind. We don't buff the opposing team's characters, but there are two major catch-up mechanics in the game. One is, if you're more than 20 moats behind the other team, you will actually spawn what we call catch-up targets. But essentially, when you're 20 moats behind, the team will get a high value target that you have to kill. It will despawn over time if you don't kill it, so there's still a gameplay loop there. It's not just free. The second major catch-up mechanic is during the primeval phase, and that's basically if another team has summoned, and that team is far ahead of you, and they've started the primeval stacks. When you summon your primeval, you will actually get a couple of stacks to catch up, and those are the primeval slayer buffs that you actually use to do damage. He says that this is something they've playtested a lot, and it's something we've made adjustments to for Season of the Forge. Right now, we do see that teams who are behind seem to be getting a little bit too many catch-up stacks when they summon second, and the leading team doesn't have a big enough advantage if they've had the primeval up for a while. So that's something we've made changes to, and we've playtested that internally. You will see those changes in Season of the Forge. And he goes on to say it will be harder to swing matches if you have summoned first during Season of the Forge. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this down below. Of course, Bungie do plan to make quite a few changes to Gambit over time. And Season of the Forge is when we'll see the first few changes, that is just in a couple of weeks' time, but there will absolutely be a continued evolution for Gambit going into Season of the Drifter, which of course will be much more focused around the Drifter and that mode anyway, so let me know your thoughts down below. Now though, let's jump back to Destiny 2 right now. We do have a new raid challenge inside of Last Wish, and this is the Strength of Memory challenge for the Riven encounter. Now basically to do this, during the main damage phase for Riven in the top room, basically you have to avoid any player shooting more than one eye per phase. So it's actually pretty easy to get this done if you're running it normally, especially since most teams tend to take one eye each on the main Riven damage phase. So if you can do that, you will complete the challenge. Simply don't shoot more than one eye during one damage phase. However, you can actually essentially skip all of this by simply nuking Riven with either Thunderlord or the cluster bomb strat during the first phase. If you can one phase this immediately, it will also count for the challenge, so you can cheese your way through the challenge as well as the encounter itself. Certainly pretty interesting stuff. It seems perhaps Bungie had a slightly different idea for how players would actually handle this encounter, and of course that's aside from any cheese, but it is a relatively easy raid challenge to get done for some bonus loot, or if you're tracking down that Riven's Bane title. Final couple of things to mention. Somebody actually posted a bunch of original D1 concepts to Reddit, and there's both a video as well as images of an early version. I can't play it right here, but it's pretty interesting. You actually see a female character who says the Traveler is coming. Definitely worth checking out if you're curious to see an alternate version of what Destiny could have been like. There's also some really cool concept art right here from Warmind, and these are from Dave Phillips from Vicarious Visions, but it's pretty interesting. You can see some early ideas of what Rasputin would have looked like. Definitely pretty different right there as an actual person. There also seems to be a kind of Siva influence going on there as well. We see other images of Clovis Bray and Nokris. It's just interesting to see how these characters could have potentially evolved. Rasputin as an actual person is pretty interesting as well. So I just thought that was something cool to share with you guys, and I will link the posts for these down in the description below. But for now, guys, that is going to summarize today's video. Interesting stuff going on this week in the game. Let me know your thoughts about the Thunderlord down below. Any speculation about the hardline or the Season 5 Pinnacle Gambit weapon? It'd be interesting to see exactly what we get. But it's definitely good that we'll be getting even more progression for Gambit. And of course, very shortly, we're going to see even more news about Season 5, probably in this week at Bungie. We might get that DLC reveal very soon as well. Of course, it's what we're anticipating, so I'll have to wait and find out. But if you guys have enjoyed this video, a like below is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. Check out my sponsor at Into the AM, who have some really cool clothing in their store. You can save 10% on any of this stuff using code Houndish. We've got really cool graphic t-shirts, hoodies, a bunch of accessories, and different clothing stuff you can check out in their store if you're interested. For now though, guys, as always, I appreciate you tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.